My name is Miles Crummell, and I have been working for the goal to be in the Navy. I would like to be a professional sniper and retain justice within the U.S. region. I will try to camp a corner and save everyone and fight evil. I also like rap. Hard rap. I used Maya to create a simple cage to practice my modeling skills. We all followed along with the teacher, so our deadline was met easily. Environment creation using Unity. My first project with Unity was building mountains in Unity. The environment controls are very similar to Maya, so it wasn't that difficult for me to understand. I used the paintbrush tool to add the textures and paint with textures. I used the raise and lower terrain tool to create mountains. Importing models into Unity. I exported this model into Unity by pasting it into the assets folder, then moving it into the hierarchy. I was then able to add the textures by dragging them into the assets folder and onto the parts of the model in the hierarchy. Lighting and character control in Unity. I selected the directional light and used the transform controls to move it into a natural sky location. Then I used the rotate tool to direct it where it looks appealing. Board game. My first board game, Rescue. The storyline. One day, this beautiful princess named Chloe was stuck in a castle because her evil parents don't let her leave her castle. This boy named Miles needs to go through an adventure to help her out of the castle before the other boys get there. Rules. You set the figurines at the beginning of the board, and they have to go through the path. You roll the dice, and that is how many squares you go. If you land on a special square, you have to do as the title says. Each player takes one turn. Whoever gets to Chloe's castle first wins the princess. Items needed. 4 players, 5 figurines, dice, and a board. To make my game better, I made you go to the castle and bring her back to the start, so the game lasts longer than 5 minutes. Pitch script. Human Populace by Miles Crummell. This game is set in a modern environment that has been flooded by robots. The robots are trying to take over the world. These animal humans have to try and stop them by using equipment. The robots have levels, and when you first start off in the game, they are low levels. As you unlock more equipment and save the human race, the robots get harder and harder. The game is based on a storyline, but the storyline can be altered by grabbing different quests. Towards the end of the game, you have to do raids with other animal humans against the robot god and save the human race to complete the game. The game will be turn-based, meaning you will use equipment first and then they will use their equipment. Interface. I created this game interface. It is about people trying to fight robots who graffiti the world. I used Photoshop to make this image. Game 1 Environment. I created an environment in Unity to make my first game. My game consists of a natural environment with buildings, hills, water, and trees. Game object. I created this in Maya as a game object by modeling a polygon primitive and adding textures. I created this t-shirt design for my academy. I used Photoshop to design my academy shirt. Character. I used Maya to create this bird for my video game. Dev C++. We use Dev C++ to create programs and learn how to write code. Naviance. I use Naviance to make a plan of my next and current query. Birdsong. I use Magix to create the song for my bird video game. Game Star Mechanic. I learned about space, components, mechanics, goals, and rules, and how important they are for a good game. Communication with Mentor. I pose my bird in my Unity environment to let my mentor know what I have planned for my video game. C++. I learned about how to declare all kinds of variables. There are floats, which are decimals, ints are integers, doubles are very large numbers, strings are words, char are characters, and birds are yes/no or on/off tools. I also learned that I have to set up safety code so my programs won't crash. Usually, this means that I provide an option for if the user chooses an incorrect answer. I then found that most programs need a tool for increasing numbers every time the program loops. We use x plus or x equals x plus 1 to increase the number in a program by 1 time every time it loops. X does the opposite. We are now learning about operators, which are similar to math symbols, but follow a very strict order. Parentheses come first, multiplication and division come second, and addition and subtraction come last. Finally, to make couts readable, we learned about using string combine commands to go to the next line or leave spaces with the /n, greater than, and L, semicolon. UV texture editor. I used the UV texture editor tool to put a skin on my gray bird. Sprite sheet. I created 2D sprites from a 3D character in Maya and Photoshop. Sci-fi. I created a sci-fi world in Unity. Concept art for game. I used a hand-drawn image which was scanned and then edited in Flash. Rollerball. I currently worked on a game which was titled Rollerball in Unity. CAPEMA. I signed up for ACC college credit classes through www.capema.com. Bird flight. I created an environment in Unity so that my bird could fly over it. C++. I started learning about if statements, arithmetic, processing, and X++. Demo reel. I used Premiere to create a demo reel of all the projects I have made in this class. Contributions to the bird game. I contributed by making the seed for the bird game in Unity, but the seed was made in Maya and exported to Unity. C++. This time in C++, we learned the different kinds of loops and operators. There are 4, do while and the while loops, and we use the and the or operators to control the data in the loops. Demo reel. I used Premiere to create a demo reel of all the projects I have made in this class. Contributions to the bird game. I contributed by making the seed for the bird game in Unity, but the seed was made in Maya and exported to Unity. C++. This time in C++, we learned the different kinds of loops and operators. There are 4, do while and the while loops, and we use the and the I, or operators to control the data in the loops. Company URL. I have used GoDaddy.com to find myself a URL. Business Internet Service Providers. I found 3 internet service providers for my company. Web Hosting Company. I found a web hosting company to host my internet. Merchant accounts. I have posted 3 of the merchant account companies I could use to service credit cards. Business bank account. I found 3 business bank account websites. IRS business ID. I filled out a business ID. Business license. There is no business license required for a digital media business, but you have to pay taxes. Business website. I created a website for my business using Wix.com. C++ practices. The next C++ projects were practices using and illustrating if loops, indenting with /t semicolon for loops, and do while loops using the operators and, or, I, and not exclamation point equal sign. Character rigging for game player. We rigged a game character for motion in the bird game using instructions for a human rig so that it could be exported into Unity. Export FBX to Unity. I made my pigeon in Maya and exported it into Unity. Pigeon food. I exported my seed from Maya into Unity for my bird game. Pigeon in Unity. I exported an FPS animation by selecting the rig in the model and selecting export selection. The box that opened allowed me to check the animation and the bake animation boxes. I ignored the error messages because they did not matter, simply because, in my life, there is no errors. And in Unity, I selected the bird and dragged the Take 001 item in its list of assets onto the black space under the controller box. And then the bird simply animated. Distributing food. I duplicated the seeds and distributed them across the environment for the bird to catch. Canvas. The canvas displays game over when you lose your health. Web portfolio. I created this portfolio with Wix.com.